Welcome back to another episode of the 4XPEDITION Gear Guide. This episode is brought to you by Rock Pals, Northwest Overland, Black Label Garage, and by our 4XPEDITION Patreon supporters. Hey there, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of 4XPEDITION Gear Guide. I'm Scott Leuthold. Today I'm in North Phoenix at a good friend of mine's shop, and I'm going to introduce you to my new KTM 390 Adventure Enduro motorcycle. So let's get started. All right, everybody, so I picked up this motorcycle back in fall, and I've had it for a little while. I've had a chance to really get out there and explore and try it out and have a good time on it. And I want to talk a little bit more about why I bought this motorcycle in particular, talk a little bit more about my experience in the past on motorcycles, and then show you a little bit of the aftermarket accessories that I've been adding to this bike in order to make it more of a long-range adventure motorcycle, if you will. All right, so I've been riding motorcycles since I was about 16 years old, 17 years old. My mom actually, back in high school, let me get a used Yamaha XS450 from a friend of mine. Man, I wish I still had that bike. That was a great bike, and today those are really popular to convert into cafe racer bikes. I would have loved having some time to modify that bike. But, you know, hindsight's 2020. I sold that thing off when I was probably 18 years old in exchange for a Honda Civic that I used to drive out to Arizona, which is when I moved here. I moved here with that vehicle, and I sold that motorcycle in order to get that car. And then after that, the second motorcycle I had was probably in my late 30s into my early 40s. And that was a really great bike. It was a Yamaha FZ8. It was totally cafe'd out. It was an 800cc bike, and I loved that thing. I ended up selling that off probably, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, and haven't had a bike since. But I've got a number of friends that, a lot of my overland friends and some of my outdoor adventure friends are also into motorcycling, and in particular, enduro riding. And so they've been out doing these rides, and so I decided I was going to pick up a bike this past fall. I did that and started looking around at bikes, and I didn't really see any bikes that I felt were off-road worthy that were small enough for me. You know, most of the bikes that you see out there, dirt bikes and enduro bikes, are pretty tall bikes. And I wanted to feel confident and comfortable on the bike, especially considering I'd be doing a lot of off-roading. When I discovered this KTM 390, I went out and checked it out and was really interested in it immediately, primarily because it sits low enough for me to be able to put my feet on the ground as needed. And I really didn't want to be doing much leaning when I came to a stoplight or something like that. And when you're going off-road, you want to feel confident and comfortable on these bikes, especially if it's slippery, muddy weather and you're going around a lot of turns in dirt. And also wanted to have something that would be able to keep up with my friends on the highway. Well, this 390 goes probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about maxed out at about 100 miles an hour. And I've had it up to that at least once. And on average, I'm running it around 65, 75 miles an hour. And then off-road, of course, you're going much slower than that. But I am pretty confident on this bike on dirt roads. And so we've been taking it out and going on some longer range trips. We've got another one coming up this weekend. We're going to go down to Tucson and do a really nice ride around the Catalina Mountains on the dirt and then come back to Phoenix. And I try to avoid interstate highways. I like country roads. I'm not a city driver either. I don't like riding this bike in the city. I get out of the city as soon as I possibly can. And so this is just more of a country highway, country road type bike. That's what I use it for. And I do think maybe in the long range, there might be some bigger trips, maybe to Alaska, things like that I might take on this bike. The range of this bike is probably in the neighborhood of about 180 miles on the gas tank. And so the bikes that I go with, the other people, their bikes go much further because they have larger gas tanks. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is adding Rotopacks to the back here, and I want to show you a couple of accessories that I picked up and mounted onto this bike in order to be able to accessorize this bike the way I want it. All right, so one of the first modifications I made to this bike was to remove the factory mirrors, and I put these much nicer mirrors on here. The factory mirrors weren't staying tight, and they would loosen up on the dirt, and they'd start swiveling around, which was really a pain in the butt. So my good buddy Brian got himself some new mirrors. He gave me these mirrors, and these work really, really well. Second thing I did was I added a taller windshield. The factory windshield is only about this high, so you're exposed, I guess it's probably about this high, so you're exposed quite often in the wind. And so I bought this aftermarket windshield that goes way up, And you can even get an extender that goes above it even further. And what this does is nicely blocks my face from, and the top of my helmet from being caught in the wind, which makes for riding a lot more comfortable. Now, because this is a 390 bike and this windshield is for a 790, I had to do some customization here. There's some slots here that this drops into, and I had to grind these down here in order to be able to fit in here. And this is mounted on with just one screw to the bike. And the piece that's behind it that has those little arms is only attached to the lens, and then that piece back there is mounted to the bike with this one screw. So it's on there well, but at times it will flop around just a little bit when you're off-road. But this is a really great addition I put on the bike. And then back here, Adventure Tribe makes this, and this is a rack that I mounted to the back of the bike. As you can see, it's only mounted on here with 2 bolts. It is going into the handles on the back here. I'm gonna keep this seat, I like this seat. I'm able to sit on it in the front here, and sometimes I'll slide back and put my rear up on this level here just for a little bit more comfort. But this Adventure Tribe rack was mounted on here, and I'm gonna put rotopacks on the back here. I will also mount some soft-sided panniers on the back here for adventuring, so I can put my gear in there. Pretty nice rack. All right, an additional accessory that I just bought is this giant loop gas can bag. And what I really think is cool about this gas can bag is it unzips into 2 pieces. And I can take this base here, which I'm gonna do today, and I can mount it on the tank, and it mounts onto the bike through straps in the front on the handlebars and straps underneath the seat. And then this bag here will zip right onto the front here, and it's a really nice big bag that I can use to hold food and water, and my phone and a map can go in here in the top. And when I need to get gas, you just unzip it from the base, you lift it off, and you can put gas into it right here without having to remove the mounting piece. So it's a really nice bag. My friends all have one of these bags, and I've been envious of them for quite some time. And I finally got one of these to be able to go on my ride with them this weekend to be able to hold some of my own stuff. Another modification that I made just right off the bat was KTM makes a factory rubber pad that sits on the top of your foot peg here. And I removed those because my foot kept slipping off of these when I was on the dirt. And so I removed them. They have these really nice metal teeth that grip right into your boot and makes it a much more comfortable ride. Now on this KTM 390, this foot peg is cocked forward just a little bit, which is a little bit strange compared to a lot of other bikes like this. I don't know really why they decide to cock it forward like that, but they do. And it makes for a little bit less comfortable position when you're standing. And it's interesting with this bike anyway, that when you stand up on it, because this bike is shorter and a little lower, you end up standing over the handlebars a lot more than you would on other bikes. I'm comfortable with that. Some people might not be. It does make you feel like you're standing in front of the bike a little bit when you're standing on the bike. I do stand on the bike quite a bit. It's good for stretching out my legs, and it's also a nice position for when you're going through some rougher terrain and you want a little bit more stability. Another accessory that I just recently added were these pegs. When my good buddy Brian was teaching me how to change the oil, he gave those to me, and we mounted them on here, and we were able to stand the bike up on a bike stand to do the work on the bike, which I thought was really great. And when we were all done, he decided to give those to me, so I added those on there. We have changed the oil once, as I mentioned, and it was a bit of a pain to do that. There's a number of different places that you have to access filters, and the drain is hard to get to, so you have to remove this skid plate in order to be able to do it. I'm going to replace this factory skid plate with a better quality one here in the near future. I don't really think I'll be getting into too much terrain where I'm gonna have to worry about scraping the bottom of the bike, but you know, I think a better quality one is probably in order. I really like this protector here on here as well, and what I think I'm going to do is you can get aftermarket foot pegs. So I'm gonna get some aftermarket foot pegs to mount on here so I can kick my feet out here and when I'm on a longer range straightaway or something like that. Another couple of accessories I plan on adding to this bike are heated grips and cruise control. I do have these hand protectors here in the front to keep your hands protected from branches and things like that. It also does block some of the wind. But, you know, in Arizona, even though you can ride your bike year round, it gets pretty chilly in the early morning. And so I want to put some hand warmers on there. And even though this doesn't come with cruise control, you can add a couple of different kinds of cruise control to this bike. I'm hoping to be able to add an automatic cruise control. There is a place here in the front of the bike for adding some accessories that can be plugged in. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. If not, I'll probably just get something like a throttle grip or something. Another thing I really like about this bike is the fact that it's got a place to mount your GPS. And right here, above your speedometer and all that, which is a really cool digital readout I'll show you here in a second, but you can add a GPS mounted right here, and it stays protected and really nice eye view, and it'll give you, all the directions that you need and so on. Turn this bike on. As you can see, the 390 offers a really nice digital readout of other KTM bikes. And it's got everything you pretty much need. It's got trip distances, and it also has ABS for road and off-road, and you can turn that on and off pretty easily at will. Really nice readout. This is the gas readout here and the temperature, the motor's temperature readout here. It does keep the time. The fuel range isn't 100% accurate, so what I do is I reset my trip mileage. I calculate up to about 190, 180 miles until I feel like I'm at risk of running out of gas. And that's one of the reasons I think I'm probably going to get some Rotopacks to mount on the back here, just so that I have a little bit more peace of mind that I can keep up with the rest of the guys without having to stop more often and not be that concerned about running out of gas. So when I mounted this Adventure Tribe rack, I took this all apart. I took the handles off here, I took the plastic off the back here, and I was able to access all the wiring under here. And what I discovered by watching somebody else's YouTube video is that there's some accessory wires that were tucked in there. So I pulled those wires down through this hole here, and as you can see, there's all the wiring right here ready to be used. And what I intend to do with these wires is rig up maybe a heated vest that I can wear that can be plugged into the bike, or maybe some USB rechargers for my phone so that I can keep my devices, my phone, my cameras, my GoPros, things like that, in the bags in the back here and be able to recharge them. So I think that's really cool, and I really appreciate being able to watch other people's YouTube videos to learn more about being able to do these kinds of things. All right, the next accessory I want to show you is my Shoei Gt Air Helmet. I love this helmet. I've had this helmet ever since I had my FZ8. It's a great helmet. It's got lots of adjustability for different air ventilation. I've already got a mount on top of it for a GoPro. This is an awesome helmet. I've just really loved this helmet. However, it's not really the ideal helmet for enduro riding. So I'm going to use this helmet for a while yet. I may eventually swap it out for something that's more appropriate for enduro. But one of the things I really like about this helmet is that it's got a dual visor. So you've got the external visor and you open it up. You've got another internal visor to block the sun, and you can open or close that real easily. So you can ride with just the outer visor, you can ride with just the inner visor, or you can close the outer visor and still have protection from the sun and wind all in one. Really awesome helmet. And again, I probably will swap this one out eventually for something a little bit more appropriate for enduro, but for now, this helmet is doing the job. All right, last but not least is outerwear. I already had motorcycle gear that I was using with my FC8, but it's mostly street riding gear. And so I need to get some updated gear. I did have, my friend Brian had a few extra things, so he loaned them to me, so I'm using those for now, but they're mostly seasonal enduro riding outerwear, and I definitely want to get something that's for season and something that can stand up to rain and so on. If I decide to take a ride all the way up to Alaska, I want to have something where I'm not going to be uncomfortable riding if it's raining and that sort of thing. So I'll be working on getting some of those accessories as well. I'm really excited about moving into enduro riding as part of my adventures. As most of you know, I do overlanding and soft road travel, and I also do stand-up paddleboard expeditions, and now I'm getting into bike packing. I'm training for a bike packing trip right now, and I'll have one of those episodes coming up here real soon. And adding enduro riding into that, I think is going to be a really cool thing. And I'm still trying to figure out how to film all that, because when you're riding a bike, you've got both hands on the handlebars. And so one of the things I've been doing is watching shows on the internet, and if you haven't watched the Ewan McGregor shows, Long Way Up, Long Way Down, Long Way Around, the most recent one, Long Way Up, is a motorcycle trip from the tip of South America all the way back to Los Angeles, and it's a really great series. If you haven't watched it and you're into enduro riding, definitely get on the internet and check that out. But the way they film is, well, of course, they've got a little bit more money to spend, so they've got support riders and support staff, and they have a support rider that goes ahead and shoots and sets up tripod shots and things like that and controls a drone. For me, though, since I'll be with a couple of other people and we'll all be riding and none of us are really going to have the ability to be able to do constant filming, I think what I'll probably do is buy maybe 2 to 3 GoPros for each rider and mount them in different places so I can capture different angles and footage of all of the riders to keep people engaged. And then we'll probably get a drone and do some staged drone shots, maybe some staged tripod shots and things like that. But I still got to figure that out, and I'm just excited to be able to start out 2021 with this additional type of adventure that I'm going to be embarking on, and it's a really, really cool bike. And I'm excited about it. It's comfortable to ride. I can put both feet down on the ground. It's got plenty of get up and go. It definitely can keep up with the other riders on the interstate. Stay tuned for 2021 adventures on this bike. I think it's gonna be really exciting. If you haven't become a subscriber to my channel, I encourage you to become one. Of course, be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified when videos go live. And if you'd like to support 4XPEDITION, go to 4XPEDITION.com and go to the store. I have a lot of really cool things in there you can buy. And if you'd like to become a member of Team 4X, we're launching our membership portal this month. There's a lot of awesome features that the membership offers. Just go to 4XPEDITION.com/join to learn more about that. Until the next time, take care.